Do you dream of what your marriage will be like? Do you imagine how the future will look as you walk through milestones together?
What comes to mind as a bride when you picture the moment you walk towards your waiting groom?
Or as a groom, how do you picture that moment your bride is led into your arms?
And when you imagine yourselves making a home together, do you picture yourselves cleaning the oven? Do you see your spouse mopping the floor? Are there tradesmen fixing your fence, or is there a hammer in your own hand?
Do you dream about the day you will welcome your first child into the world? Your second, or your third, or your fourth? What does your bank account look like? Is your dream home surrounded by a quiet countryside or the hustle and the bustle of the city?
There are expectations about all sorts of things in your marriage relationship, both the big picture and the practical, that you may or may not be consciously aware of. Our expectations for something are built over a lifetime of experiences, and sometimes it is not till they are met or not met that we understand the expectation we had.
Having expectations, especially for such a momentous milestone like marriage, is a good thing. It is completely natural. But knowing what your expectations are and the why behind them is important.
So if some of your expectations will be known to you and some are more subconscious, where do you begin? Talking about a wide array of areas which are common in most marriage relationships will be a good place to start.
This will help you sort out the expectations that each of you have individually and those you can work on together. You can discuss whether these are shared expectations or how you can help each other's expectations to become reality.
You'll likely have expectations about employment, accommodation, children, time spent on various activities, who will be responsible for certain practical tasks, and much, much more. Talking through these things together will uncover too which expectations are realistic and which ones are not.
When expectations are realistic, as you walk together through the months and years and find that some of these expectations are not being met, it's a fairly straightforward matter to talk with your spouse about it and to address things in a way that you both can feel satisfied with.
The real challenge comes when we have unrealistic expectations in marriage that go unmet. And that's because unrealistic expectations can't be met, no matter how much you demand or wish they would be. And the disappointment that comes from this can fester and transform into other, more defeating emotions and choices.
So, it is an incredible help to you to try and uncover some of these things before your marriage begins.
Many unspoken expectations are based on your family of origin and their values, past relationships, life experience, and friends. So it's helpful when you are having these conversations to think about and recall where you have seen or heard the patterns and behaviours that you are describing as an expectation for you. Even if you walk into painful parts of your past or your expectations surprise you, practice extending grace to each other and bravely navigate these areas together. As a second point about expectations, there is conflicting literature on whether in marriage we should lower our expectations and therefore will be less likely to face disappointment, or if in fact we should set our expectations high.
Dr. John Gottman, who's done a considerable amount of research into marriage relationships, talks about the good enough marriage. He talks about completely reasonable expectations to have, which at face value are actually high expectations of a thriving relationship. However, he suggests that what puts some expectations out of kilter is when people expect a marriage or their spouse to be perfect, to heal childhood wounds, to solve all of their problems, and to be void of conflict and pain. But he explains that a good enough relationship could expect the following.
They are good friends. They have a satisfying sex life. They trust one another and are fully committed to one another. They can manage conflict constructively. That means they can arrive at mutual understanding and get to compromises that work, and they can repair effectively when they hurt one another. They honour one another's dreams, even if they're different. They create a shared meaning system with shared values and ethics, beliefs, rituals, and goals. They agree about fundamental symbols like what a home is, what love is, and how to raise their children.
We too believe these things are worth fighting for and having non-negotiable expectations about.
Having expectations is a healthy and good thing. Spending some time on this area as you prepare for marriage is time well spent.